you can't do debating without community and without guidance.
One of the reasons debate is a sport is because it's an adrenaline high.
Hi, I'm Maya.
And I'm Dharani.
And we're both representing the university as Cambridge A in the upcoming European Debating Championship this summer. I think debating for Cambridge is being tied up in the incredible history of this place. I think this is the oldest continually operating debating unit in the world. It has two parts, so the show debates are separate from what we do, which is competitive debating.
It's a little terrifying that it comes with a lot of history attached to it, but at the same time, I think it's a bit of a relief that you come from an institution that prioritizes debate and you don't have to fight for funding, you don't have to fight for the opportunity to go abroad. This is an institution that is built and exists to help you reach those goals, and is going to be there.
One of the most interesting experiences that you can have as a competitive debater is to go to an international competition. We go to the European Universities Championship, we go to the World Universities Championship, we go to competitions that are hosted in other, mostly European universities like Vienna, Amsterdam, Berlin, and so on. And we're able to meet people from all over the world, all over Europe, engage with the debating community, and I think just expose ourselves to things that we wouldn't have been able to have access to otherwise, not to mention see a little bit of outside of Cambridge while we're here.
I think we could both say across our years of debating, a lot of the closest people in our lives are from debate. You know, friends that I've had from 13, 14, we've stuck together because we've got this amazing experience that we do together. We travel, we debate, we push ourselves in the same way. We have the same disappointments when we don't do as well. We work as a team. And it creates this whole new bond, and it's an incredible feeling to know that you've got these friends who understand, you know, your goals and dreams in life.
Not to mention the intense bond you have with the people that you debate with, the people who are your debating partners. You have to do very stressful 15-minute preps with. You have to whisper through entire debates with, and kind of share your disappointments and your triumphs. And the interesting thing is, as well, is that you learn more about yourself and about the other person. So I think people in debating are often known as a team, so it'll be X and Y.
Yeah.
Like, you won't know just that person on their own. They'll always be attached to someone else. And partly that is because each of them brings their own strengths. You can't do debate without being a good team player, as great as you think your rhetoric skills might be.
I really like the Remy the Rhino debate.
Yes.
We had a motion about, it's a really serious topic, but it ended up being very fun. It was about, this natural reserve. They didn't have enough funds, and so they started this auction for rich people, and the highest bidder would get to shoot down a dying rhino. And we were on opposition. We were like, you cannot shoot down the rhino. Maya named it, and so she went, Remy the Rhino cannot be killed. And that was a very fun motion for us.
That was great. I loved that. I think that was one of our first motions together, right? That was in Dublin.
Yeah.
It was our first competition together. We had such a great time. One of the weirdest debates I ever did was, in a world where Pokemon exist, this house would ban catching them. And we argued for that position. So my team argued to ban catching Pokemon. It was actually an incredibly interesting debate because when you think about it, as silly as it sounds, the arguments for this debate touch on things like animal rights and animal abuse, for instance, the relationship between people and their Pokemon, and you really get to delve into that fictional world, but also apply serious arguments to it, which I find absolutely fascinating. And it was very fun and very strange.
I started debating in school. I was about 13 or 14. I had just followed a friend to a random society meeting. And I really liked it because they were talking about really interesting things, principles. When you start debate, you obviously don't know anything about it. So you start off discussing things. So we're discussing things like, should we ban the death penalty? Should we abolish, the gendered categories in the Oscars? That was my first ever speech. And I loved it. I loved having those discussions. And I think that's the biggest reason as to why I stayed in debate. My debate coach in schools, who I owe a lot, Vinod, always said you have to stick to debate because it's going to open up ample opportunities to you. It's made me a more broad-minded person. It's meant that I've considered things at a very analytical level. It's gotten me into Cambridge, and I think it's just continued to give me these opportunities and allow me to, like Maya says, discuss things with other people that you wouldn't otherwise get to, especially in a country like Malaysia.
My first experience debating was in undergrad at Tel Aviv University. I started debating on Zoom during the pandemic. And I think the reason that I started debating was to escape isolation in some sense and have some connection with people, even if it was just online and through Zoom. Starting in university meant that on one hand, compared to some people, I had less of an advantage. That was less clear where I started, which was in Israel, where not as many people do schools debating. But on the other hand, it meant that I was more mature, and so I was able to let my worldview shape the way that I debated, and maybe not the other way around.
And I think that's really reflective in the way we work as a team and the things that we say in prep and our arguments, because I've got all these random years of things that I'll learn, and so I'll say, oh, I think I once had this debate on something, but then Maya will be like, but I've read this.
There are 4 teams in every debate, and the judges rank them from 1 to 4, so you can get between 1st and 4th place. My team got the 3rd the first time I debated, and the first hurdle for me was to say, yeah, I suppose I'm okay enough at this to keep trying to do it. The most exciting hurdle is probably your first competition, where you might go as a novice as part of a novice competition, or as part of a pro-am, or what we call a big brother competition, where you go with a more experienced debater and you have that guidance. Or you could just jump into the water and go. Did you do that?
Yeah. They made me go for a competition like 1 or 2 weeks into debate. So unlike Maya, my first round, I took a solid 4th. But like, you asked us one of the reasons why we stay. And I think one of the reasons debaters call debate a sport is because it's an adrenaline high. And you get addicted to that high. So I got a 4th, but that was the first time I'd stood up as a kid and given a 7-minute speech about something that mattered. And I was loud and I was confident. And I remember going back that night and telling my mum, I lost, Mum. And she was like, oh no. And I was like, but I want to go back again tomorrow. It will become abundantly clear, debate is a team sport, and you need to work very hard with your teammate, but you're only going to get far as long as you have outside support. So you have coaches. I had a coach in school, Maya had a coach at university, and when we came to the Cambridge Union, I think we were struggling for a bit because we didn't have that firm hand and guidance. And that's where one of our friends, Ben, came in. He was incredible. He helped us all the time, giving us direction, watching us debate, giving us feedback, giving us just confidence and telling us things like, you are good, you are going to be fine, I think made a world of a difference to the way we've performed this year.
You can't do debating without community, and that's why we have debating societies. That is why we have support from each other. Why debaters also tend to interact with debaters from other universities and often other countries. We cannot do it alone. People spend hours of their lives doing free workshops online, giving free competitions, charity competitions. Judges spend hours of their time giving extra feedback outside of competitions because we know that this sport is based on community and it's something that we can't do without each other. And that's also the fun of it.
We're currently headed off to the European Universities Debating Championships in Bulgaria. We will be representing Cambridge as Team A. This is the first time that the leading team is comprised of 2 women.
If you want to learn more about this or about what's going on in Cambridge competitive debating, click the link in the description or in the comments.